Guys, and what is the name of the chapter we are going to start today? Have you guys read the new chapter? And do tell me, currently which chapter was going on before vacation? Ahmed, which chapter was going on in your school?
Which class, sir? Which subject?
Science.
Science. Light.
It was light.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the chapters are not being taught in a sequence. Light was being taught.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They are not following.
Okay, but I saw your syllabus. As per your syllabus, chapter number 5 was supposed to be completed in your school. Has this chapter been completed or not?
Conversation. Yes, sir. It has.
It has been completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so far, which chapters are completed? Quickly tell me.
Which chapters have been, sir? I don't quite remember well.
Crop.
Sir.
Okay. Crop production and management. That chapter has been completed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Coal and petroleum. That has been completed
Yes, sir.
in your school. Okay. Combustion and flame.
Yes, sir. I think so. Yes.
Okay. And we did one more chapter. I think. There was, I think, one more chapter.
No,
So
sir.
far we have no.
The science of
We finished combustion and
bacteria.
flames yesterday.
Yes.
The bacteria ones. The bacteria.
Microorganisms. Yeah. That's what
Yes.
you were saying. No? So total 4 chapters we have completed. All right. So this is now, as per your NCERT, this is the 5th chapter. Okay. So Arhan, including Ahmed, including this chapter and the chapter light, total 6 chapters have been completed in your school.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we are going to start with this chapter. That's a very short and simple chapter. There are some concepts in this chapter which we will be discussing. Okay. So it basically talks about conservation of our environment, right, guys? This is what the basically the chapter is aimed at. Okay. So conservation of plants and animals. That is your chapter number 5, guys. All right. So let's start this chapter. Okay. So before we talk about our chapter, there are a few basic terminologies you guys should be aware of. Okay. So first thing here is that why are we talking about conservation? First thing is conservation. Why are we even talking about this? So how would you guys define the word conservation? Yes. Like,
Saving resources for the upcoming generation.
Yes, saving resources for the coming generation. Okay, that is good. And saving resources
And using
for
them wisely.
and using them wisely and using them in a judicious manner, right? Okay, so the term conservation, it basically means what? The process of keeping and producing something, protecting something from damage and keeping it in reserve for our future need also, right, guys? So we say that the term conservation means keeping and protecting something from damage. So that is the literal meaning of the word conservation. But here we are talking in context of plants and animals, right?
Yes, sir.
So in context to plants and animals, it means conserving our plants and animals, protecting them from extinction and using those resources in a wise manner so that they do not get extinct and they are available for us in future generations as well, right, guys? So that is what the conservation of plants and animals basically means here. Okay, then the next term here is biosphere. What does biosphere mean here? Look, our Earth has been divided into several spheres. If you see our Earth, it has been divided into several spheres. Like one is the lithosphere, right, guys? One is the hydrosphere, okay, and one is the atmosphere, okay, and then you have got another sphere where living organisms lives in relation with their nature. So basically biosphere, see
Yes.
here, this one, this is your biosphere. Okay, so biosphere is that part of the earth in which living organisms exist. They exist together with nature, right, guys? So there are different animals. They could be terrestrial animals, they could be aquatic animals, they could be terrestrial plants and aquatic plants as well. Okay, so they live in this zone where they are found on our lithosphere, that is the terrestrial part of the earth. Okay, they are found in underwater as well, that is in hydrosphere, and birds, they fly in air as well. All right, so it is the intermix of these three zones, and that forms the biosphere where life exists, where life exists together with nature, right, guys? Okay, so that's why it is called biosphere. Bio means life. Then you have got another term here, wildlife. What do we mean by wildlife?
Life which is separate from human being.
Life which is separate from human beings, or basically life is which is basically found in forests, which is basically found in natural, which is found naturally in forests, whether it is plant or whether it is animals, that is called wildlife. Okay, so if you plant a certain if you domesticate animals and plant different types of crops in your home or in your terrace or in your garden, that will not be called as wildlife. Why? Because they do not occur naturally. Okay, we have domesticated them in our gardens, in our terraces, etc. Right, guys? So
Yes, sir.
basically it means all animals and plants which are found naturally in the forest. So wildlife means all plants and animals found naturally in the forest, right, guys? That is simply called as wildlife. Now there's one more word here, ecosystem. What does this word ecosystem mean here? Right? Yes, guys.
Yes.
This ecosystem, what does this word mean here?
Eco.
So ecosystem is basically, it's a system which will include all the living organisms, whether they are plants, animals, even microorganisms, and the physical environment in which they live, like soil, water, or air. So what does it mean? It's a system in which all living organisms, whether plants, animals, or microorganisms, lives in the natural habitat, whether it be soil, water, or air. Got this thing? So
Yes, yes.
it's a system in which natural life exists in the natural habitat. Okay. Soil, water, or air. All right. Okay. Now, with these basic concepts having been clear, now let's move ahead here. Now, you see, the most crucial concept of the chapter is related to deforestation here. You see, The majority of the problems we humans are facing today, like global warming, like flooding, extinction of animals, most of the major problems is related to cutting down of the forest, right? So if you cut down forests, you are going to observe majority of the problems. Okay, so let's talk about deforestation. You guys must have you guys are already familiar with the term. Okay, in your junior classes you must have studied about this. So what does it mean?
Destruction of forest with the cutting of trees.
With the cutting down of trees, right guys? So it is simply the destruction of forest by cutting down trees. And what does it leads to? It leads to the direct impact of it is that the habitat of the animals is lost. But on a larger scale, it has a global impact. But the sudden immediate impact of deforestation is that the homes of the animals is lost. Okay, but on a bigger scale, we have lost, just as we humans have got lungs. Okay, similarly, the lung of the earth is called forest. Okay, so forest is a very important resource. They feeds oxygen into the atmosphere, which we breathe, right, guys? Okay, so deforestation can be done by two ways. Deforestation happens by two ways. One is by human interruption. Okay, one is by humans. Another cause is natural. So, okay, so for deforestation, either humans could be responsible or nature can also be responsible for this. Can you guys think of in what ways nature can lead to deforestation?
That cyclones and high wind can take down trees,
Yeah, and
old trees, and
floods, and the most important, forest fires. Right, guys? Forest fires, cyclones, etc. These are natural causes, and humans are also using the forest for various purposes. They are cutting down the forest for various purposes, right, guys? Okay, now
Yes.
what are the causes of deforestation? Let's first talk about humans. Okay, so humans are using forest for a variety of purposes. They cut down the forest for either furniture. Okay, for furniture, they cut down the forest for obtaining wood to use as fuel.
The
Okay,
space
yeah,
for space, like for building flats, and they cut
yeah,
down trees.
yeah, in construction work as well. Ahmed, no answers coming from your side.
Sir, I am thinking about it.
Yeah, construction works. What are some other uses where humans cut down the trees?
Uh,
Yes,
Sir, for
forests are also cleared down for agriculture reasons.
yes, sir, and also, sir, equipments,
Equipments, good.
and
To obtain agricultural land, forests are also being cleared down, because
yes,
as the population is growing more and more, there's more and more need of crops of food. So for more, look, the land is limited, we cannot expand the land, but the land on which forests are grown, we can cut down the forest. Humans are cutting down the forest.
yes, sir,
Okay,
and sir, the gum on in trees.
okay, you see paper,
Yeah, papers.
manufacture of paper also, forests are being cleared down, and there are so many examples, the list goes on. All right, so these are some common causes of deforestation. Apart from human, what were the natural ways?
Mm.
It was
The
forest
forest
fires,
fires,
yeah,
cyclones,
cyclones,
Sir, earthquakes.
Earthquakes could be responsible, but it could not be a major factor. You guys are forgetting one more reason here. Volcanoes, volcanic eruptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can
So,
engulf
but
down the whole forest. Yes, Arhan?
isn't it? It is not that common for volcanic eruptions to take down a forest.
It is not very
Volcanic
common. No, it is not very common. But there have been cases where, due to volcanic eruptions, nearby forest burned. Nearby forest burned due to volcanic eruptions. There has been several cases. All right. So that
Yes,
is
sir.
also a cause. Okay, apart from them, you can list flood as well. Okay. Now, there comes a question here that we know. You see, consequences of deforestation. First, let's talk about this and what I was going to discuss. Uh, we will come to that later. Let's talk about consequences of deforestation. If forests are being cut down, what the consequences are going to be?
the soil
Consequences
erosion.
means effect.
Since soil erosion, since trees hold the soil together
Exactly, exactly.
in place.
That is the first and foremost impact of deforestation. So soil is going to be eroded. Okay. Next is it is related to soil erosion.
Oh.
What are other consequences of deforestation, Ahmed?
Sir, natural disasters.
Natural disaster, it's flood. Now the question comes here, how deforestation will lead to flood here? The question is how it will lead to flood here. Can
It
you
will
guys think of?
soften the roots of the tree because of the water.
It will soften the no. Look, if on a piece of land there were plants here, okay, there were plants in this piece of land. Now you are cutting down the plants, you are cutting down the forest. Okay, we know that the roots holds the soil. The roots, especially the roots of the
Oh,
forest, are very dense and they are very long and they are spread over a large area, right guys? So they hold on to a very large, they hold on to large soil. Now if you were to cut them, what will happen? There is no root in the soil. There is no root in the soil. So in that case, what will happen? If there is a flood, if there is a flood, all the soil of this region will be eroded. The top layer of the soil will be eroded and taken away by the flood water to another region. Right, guys? So why is this happening? Because we know that roots hold on to soil. If there was a dense forest here, flood would not have impact on the soil. Right, guys? So soil erosion, then flood, then deforestation is also responsible for loss of habitat. Loss of habitat for birds, different types of birds, for different types of animals. Right, guys?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now it will also
So is
lead.
it responsible for
Yes,
less oxygen, less
less
production
oxygen.
of oxygen?
Yeah, less oxygen will be there in atmosphere. That is also a reason. Okay, so balance of oxygen gas is disturbed. Okay, now there's one more thing here. We know that plants during respiration, they take in plants during photosynthesis, they take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So if there are lesser plants, then there will be abundance of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And we know that carbon dioxide traps heat coming out of the earth or coming out from various activities. Okay. So there will be more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay. So it will lead to increase in temperature of Earth's atmosphere, which will lead to global warming then.
Yes,
So
sir.
there is increase in temperature of Earth's atmosphere, which will lead to what?
The
Global,
global warming or
yeah,
greenhouse effect.
global warming. Okay, carbon dioxide gas is responsible for the greenhouse gas effect, right? Okay, guys, and there are some more consequences. Okay, like it will lead to drought as well. Okay, and it will lead to desertification. See here, drafts here. The land has got barren due to no rainfall for a long period of time. The drought is such a situation in where there is no rainfall for a very long period of time. Why there is no rainfall on the piece of land? The reason is obvious, that plants are responsible for rainfall. You guys know this. Okay, water bodies,
Yes.
and it's basically the water bodies and the vegetation, meaning the plant, water bodies and plants, from where water evaporates into the atmosphere, right guys? Water evaporates from them. Okay, so in a desert there is no water body, there is no plants, hence there is no evaporation there. So it means no cloud will be formed on that piece of land, right guys? So
Yes,
that
sir.
is why there will be no
Yes.
rainfall. So how do we define drought? Drought is a situation where there is no rainfall for a prolonged period of time on a piece of land, right guys? So
Yes, sir.
that leads to soil becoming
Yes,
very
sir.
unfertile. Okay, okay, so we say drought is a situation in which there is no rainfall for a prolonged period of time. Okay, and due to this, no wildlife will survive on that piece of land. Okay, now there's a term here, desertification. Okay, include these two things here, draft, okay, desertification, right guys? So let's see what this desertification here it means. Okay, so it's the formation of a desert by erosion of vegetation due to harsh weather, that is simply called as desertification. Okay, so look how how the process of desertification starts from deforestation on a piece of land. Okay, on a piece of land there was dense forest first. Now someone came and he cut down all the forest, all the trees. Okay, so it is left with no trees. So if there is no tree in this region, if there is flood, soil will be eroded, right guys?
Yes, sir.
Soil erosion will happen here. So basically what happens in soil erosion, the top layer of the soil is eroded by the flood water and it is taken from that region to somewhere another region, basically deposited on the banks of river, right guys? So now the thing is here,
Yes.
will new plants grow on it? Because we know forest can grow on their own, but will new forest grow on it?
No.
No.
Since
Why?
the top layer of soil contains nutrients, so
Exactly,
that the
exactly,
plants would not.
exactly. That is the case here. So this is how the process of desertification starts from deforestation. All right. Okay then. Another thing is that global warming. We talked about this one. So see here. See, different regions of the world are shown here, and the temperature of different regions are given here. See, this yellow one, orange one, red one, and this brown color. These regions shows these are those regions where the annual temperature local record was high. Okay, so this data is of the year 2015. Okay, and you guys can see the temperature of different regions here. see here, this region here, okay, has recorded highest temperature. These regions here, the one that is of dark brown color here, okay, and in fact the oceanic region here is also warm, okay, and only you guys can see the Arctic, the polar regions here, this Antarctica and this polar region here, they are only colder, okay, okay.
Yes, sir.
Now with deforestation, we need to take up mitigation steps here. By mitigation, I basically means that we need to reverse the damage that has been done in the environment, right, guys? So first step
Yes, sir.
of reversing the damage starts from where? By adopting ways where there is minimum exploitation of natural resources and reversing the process of deforestation. Okay, so the first step will be reforestation. You will start from deforestation, and deforestation is it's possible, right? It is possible, and in fact, you see, if nature is left undisturbed for a good period of time, nature can restore itself. For example, during the pandemic, you guys must have observed that several rivers, okay, like take the example of rivers here in India, they were becoming cleaner. They were becoming cleaner.
Yes, and the air was also a little bit.
Exactly, exactly. The air got cleaner. The water, the river bodies, started becoming cleaner. Okay, so it basically shows that if humans were to not interrupt the nature, it can fix itself. Okay, so the first step starts from reforestation. What does reforestation means? It is basically the reverse of deforestation, meaning planting forest again. That is called as reforestation. Okay, now make the world a greener place. Greener place means what? Basically increasing the concentration of vegetation, increasing the what? Concentration of vegetation. So how do we do that? We need to recycle the paper, the papers which we are using, we need to recycle it, right, guys? So how can we recycle it? By not burning it, by not wasting it, okay, and by selling it. Okay, so paper industry is a leading cause of deforestation since they need wood pulp. Okay, wood pulp is basically the material from which paper is made. Okay, so if you take a stems of plants, of certain plants which are used to make paper, take example of a bamboo plant, bamboo tree. Okay, using the wood of the wood of the bamboo, it is made into wood pulp, and from wood pulp papers are made. You guys, in fact, you guys can also try to make paper you guys can also recycle the paper and make a new paper. So what you guys can do, simply take old papers, okay, put them in a tub here in water, soak them overnight, and the next day you will see that it will become very soft. Okay, and take a wooden board like this, okay, and spread the paper over it, spread the paper over it, and put some weight over it, put some weight over it, and after that leave it for 4 to 5 hours, then dry it in sun, dry it in sun, and it will be ready to be used. All right, guys. Okay,
Yes,
so reforestation, as I said, it is basically restocking the destroyed forest by planting new trees. Okay, that's it. Okay, now conservation of forest and wildlife. Okay, conservation of forest and wildlife. Okay, so we could now basically, if you see, we could conserve our forest and wildlife to preserve biodiversity. When you are conserving forest, you are not only conserving the plants only, you are in fact conserving the whole species of different animals that are dependent on plants, right guys? Because different species lives in forest and which is basically their home. All right. So for this purpose, for conservation of our forest and wildlife, we have set up different different components in our nature. Like we have got biosphere reserves, we have got natural parks. Have you guys been to national parks?
Nash. No,
think-
sir. I have.
Yes, around you. Okay. So
It's an
all right. Okay. So for this purpose now, for conservation of forest and wildlife, we have got biosphere reserves, we have got wildlife sanctuaries, and we have got national parks. Like see in this figure here, we have got biosphere reserve, national parks, and wildlife sanctuaries where plants and animals are being conserved. They are being protected. So the endangered species of animals which you see, they are kept here so that their illegal poaching, their illegal killing can be stopped. Okay. So see here, first let's talk about biosphere reserve. First, let's talk about biosphere reserve. So what does a biosphere reserve mean? Biosphere reserve. So biosphere, we are already familiar with the term, right? It is the atmosphere of the earth where natural life lives together with the environment. Okay. Reserve means to protect them, right guys? So biosphere reserves are what? Any idea? It is basically a large protected area of land which is especially meant for the conservation of wildlife, biodiversity, and the traditional lifestyle of the people living in that region. Like you see, there are so many tribal peoples who are still unconnected with the modern world, and they have got a very traditional lifestyle in which they live, where they live in close association with the wildlife, right guys? I think someone's mic is on and there's some background noise. Ahmed, I think yours is off, or Arhan.
Mine's okay.
Oh,
I'll give message.
okay, someone's mic was off. Okay, so we were talking about biosphere reserve. Okay, so it is basically a region which is especially designated for conservation of wildlife and the traditional lifestyle of local peoples there. Are you guys getting it? Like
Yes, sir.
here in India, like especially if you take northeastern states, consider the example of Manipur state here in India. There are majority of tribal peoples living there. Consider take example of Jharkhand, that is a state in India. There also there are so many groups of tribal peoples. Okay, take examples of some islands in the Lakshadweep group of islands. There also there are so many tribal peoples. So tribal peoples have got a traditional way of lifestyle where they live in close association with the nature. All right, guys.
Okay, sir.
So biosphere reserve, it is spatial land meant for conservation of wildlife and the traditional lifestyle of the local people.
Excuse me, I got disconnected, so can you repeat what were you saying?
Uh, yes, Arhan?
I actually got disconnected accidentally, so can you repeat?
Yeah. Biosphere reserve, we were talking about it. Biosphere reserve, it is a spatial land which is meant for conservation of wildlife and the traditional lifestyle of the local people, right? Of the local people. Okay, so that is basically biosphere reserve. Then we have got wildlife sanctuary. Okay, now there's some minute differences between all these three. Between biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuary, and national parks. You guys will see there are some minute differences between the three. Okay, see this. See wildlife sanctuary. What is a wildlife sanctuary? It is a naturally occurring sanctuary, such as an island, that provides protection for a species from hunting, predation, competition, or poaching. Okay, so wildlife is a naturally occurring sanctuary. Okay, it is not created by humans. Not created by humans. Okay, Ahmed or Arhan, I think one of you guys' mic is on. Please turn it off. There's some background noise coming. Okay, and then you have got national parks. Okay, so before we talk about national parks, see what are flora and fauna. The plants and animals which are found in a particular area are called flora and fauna of that region. So plants which are found in a particular area, their group is basically called as flora, and the animals found in a particular region, that is called as what?
Fauna.
Fauna. Right. Now let's see what this national park means. It is a park that is used for biodiversity conservation, and they are developed and maintained by the union government, meaning that it has been especially created by the government here, government of India, for the purpose of conserving wildlife. Right, guys? Okay.
Yes, sir.
And biosphere reserve, as we earlier talked about it, it is the part of the biosphere. We mean it is the part of the earth which supports the life, where living organisms exist together with nature. And biodiversity, we also studied about this. In fact, I guess bio basically means life, and diversity is the variation in life forms. Okay, so there's so much of variation in life on earth. Okay, so when we say biodiversity, we simply mean variation of different life forms in our ecosystem, right, guys? So biological diversity
Yes.
or biodiversity, it is the variety of organisms existing on our planet Earth. Okay, and and there is an interrelationship of those organisms together with their environment. Basically, they are dependent on their environment for their survival. Okay, okay. So this is what the term biodiversity and biosphere means here. All right. Now there was no and activity in the NCERT book. Okay, so we will have a look at that one. First, see the different life forms here. Okay, see that's a microscopic view of that's a microscopic view of a face of some animal that looks like an ant here.
So it's a fly.
It's a
Fly. House fly.
housefly, no? I think so. It's a housefly, in fact. Okay. Okay. So in your NCERT book, there was an activity. It was basically Bujo and Paheli, and related to their visit to a national park. There was an activity. So let's have a look at that one. And via that activity, we will get to learn few things. And did you guys completed the notes of previous chapter?
Not currently, sir.
Okay. You guys, yeah, start from here. Just give a simple reading. Okay. 5.3. Ahmed, you first read this paragraph and start from here.
Sure, sir. Having become aware of the effects of deforestation, Paheli and Buju are worried. They go to Professor Ahmed and ask him how forest and wildlife can be saved. Professor Ahmed organizes a visit to a biosphere reserve for Paheli and Buju and their classmate. He selects a place named Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve. He knows that the plants and animals found here are similar to those of the upper Himalayan peaks and and to those belonging to the lower western Ghats. Professor Ahmed believes that the biodiversity found here is
Biodiversity.
unique. Biodiversity, okay, sir. Um, Found here is unique. He requests Madhavji, a forest
Madhavji.
Madhavji, okay, a forest employee to guide the children inside the biosphere reserve. He explains that preserving areas of biological importance make them a part of our nation heritage. Madhavji explains to the children that apart from our personal efforts and efforts of the society,
Government agencies.
government agencies also take care of the forest and animals. The government lays down the rules, methods, and politics to protect and conserve them. Wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, biosphere reserves, etc. There are protected areas for conservation of the plants and animals present in that area.
Okay. It's policies, not politics. All right. Okay. So all these regions, whether it's a biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuaries, or national parks, they are being supported by local groups, by government, and some agencies, so that we are able to protect the different types of plants and animals. Okay, so here it's about Bujo and Paheli. Okay, they went to Professor Ahmed and they asked him about forest and wildlife and how they can be saved. Okay, so they took him to some. Uh, they they took him to a biosphere reserve. Okay, so they took him to a biosphere reserve and there they observed several things. Right.
Yes, sir.
So children, along with the Professor Ahmed and Madhavji, entered the biosphere reserve. Okay, so Madhavji here explains biosphere reserves are what? They are basically those areas which are basically meant for conservation of biodiversity. All right. Okay. So here's an biosphere given here in this figure. That is the Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve. All right. It is here in India. It is in India. All right. So there, what they are going to observe, let's find it out. Okay. So Arhan, you start reading from here.
As you are aware that biodiversity is the variety of plants, animals, and microorganisms generally found in an area, the biosphere reserve helps to maintain the biodiversity and the culture of that area. A a biosphere reserve may also contain other protected areas in it. The Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve consists of one national park named Satpura and two wildlife sanctuaries named Bhori and Pachmari.
Okay. See here. There's a national park in this biosphere reserve, Satpura National Park. Okay. And there are two wildlife sanctuaries in it as well, Bori and Pachmarhi. So see, where are they? This is Bori, and where is Pachmarhi? This is Pachmarhi Sanctuary. Okay, so biosphere reserve we can see here. It's a very large area. It's not a small area. Okay, and it can encompass national parks and wildlife sanctuaries also. So obviously, it's a very large area, and in it There can be wildlife sanctuaries and national parks as well. So it's basically a large area dedicated for protection of wildlife. Okay. So flora and fauna, you guys know what are they? It's basically the diversity of plants and animals found in a given region that we call as flora and fauna, right? So the plants and animals found in a particular area are termed flora and fauna, respectively of that area. Okay. So see here, the rich biodiversity of life here. Okay. This these animals, see them here. It's a wild dog. Okay. It's cheetah, a wolf, a leopard, a fern, and a German tree. Okay, these are basically flora and fauna here. Okay, now having been discussed about the wildlife sanctuary, national parks, and biosphere reserves, let's talk about the endemic species. Okay, like in nature, you will see that there are certain animals and certain plants which are found in specific areas only, right? So, for example, bears, which are found in the Arctic region, they are not found here in India or anywhere else, right, guys? So that will be called as an endemic species, right? Okay.
Okay.
So read this one, Ahmed. You read this one, Ahmed. Are you there?
Sorry, sir. Unmuted. Endemic species are those species of plants and animals which are found exclusively in a particular area. They are not naturally found anywhere else. A particular type of animal or plant may be endemic to a zone, a state, or a country. Madhav Ji shows sal and wild mango as two examples of
Endemic flora.
endemic flora. Okay. Of Pachmarhi Biosphere Reserve, bison, Indian giant squirrel, uh, and flying squirrel are endemic fauna of this area. Professor Ahmad explains that the destruction of the habitat, increasing population, and introduction of new species may affect the natural habitat of endemic species and endanger their existence.
Okay. So you see here's an example of two flora and fauna which are endemic to Pachmadi Reserve only. They are nowhere else to be found, right? See here. In the Pachmari Biosphere Reserve, there's sal and wild mango trees. See this figure here. That's a wild mango. That's a tree of a wild mango. Okay. And there's a sal tree as well. Okay. Which are endemic flora and are found in Pachmari Reserve only. Like that, we have got example of two fauna also. Bison, which is a bison, which basically looks like a bull. Okay. And then you have Indian giant squirrel, and there's one more. See, there's a giant squirrel, and there's one more, a flying squirrel. These are the animals found in Panchmati Reserve only. Okay, but nowadays what's happening due to introduction of new species in that region, like there's some species that may hunt them down. Okay, there might be introduction of some new microorganism in that region that may affect those
The
flora,
invasive
those.
species.
Yes.
The species that hunt down them are called invasive species.
Yeah. So they will hunt them down, and their extinction will be in danger. Their existence will be in danger. So with the introduction of new species and destruction of their habitat, illegal poaching of these animals, okay, their existence has been in danger nowadays. Okay, so a species, it is basically a group of population of animals which are capable of interbreeding between themselves. Okay, so we likewise we have got species of plants, different animals, different fishes. Okay, so a species is basically a group of those organisms which can interbreed themselves and give birth to new ones. For example, you will not keep a dog and a monkey in a same species because they cannot interbreed and give birth to a new living organisms. Right, guys? Okay, so that is simply called a species. Okay, Arhan, define what is a species.
Species is a group of populations which are capable of interbreeding with their own kind.
With their own types. Okay, and they can give birth to new fertile offsprings. Offspring basically means their children. Right, guys? Okay. And we humans belong to which species?
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. Very good. Okay. This Homo sapien, it is basically a scientific name of humans. So if someone asks you what is a scientific name, that is a scientific name. Okay. So the first word basically represents genus, and the second word represents species. You guys will get to know about this in class 9 and SATI. Genus and species, what are they? Okay. All right, guys, then that's it for today. And your task is to read whatever is given in the NCERT. Okay, read the chapter, and in the next class, this chapter will be completed, inshallah. All right.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Arhan.
You were saying that you will arrange an extra class for the remaining chapters, so I'm just asking that when you will arrange those classes.
All right. So, Ahmed, Arhan, just which chapters were left? I think the first you started from quadrilateral. You joined when the chapter quadrilateral was going on, right?
Yes, sir, and we missed one chapter, which is the third chapter, the science textbook.
Okay, okay. So first two
The
chapters.
fiber.
Okay, all right, all right. So the first two chapters from science and the first two chapters from maths as well. That were